It's hot today. In today's video, I'm going to teach you how to maximize the chances of getting the iPhone of your choice on opening day. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and September 20, 2019 is the release day of the new iPhone 11, which comprises of 3 different iPhone models. If you haven't seen my last video, I gave a brief description about the 3 different models, the difference between them, and which one I would get. Bear in mind that's purely my opinion and it does not necessarily reflect your needs. All in all, I felt that all 3 models were great iPhones with just a couple of shortcomings which every new piece of technology has, and if you're okay with that, then I think this is going to be a great iPhone for you guys to pick up. Now, this year being a number upgrade rather than an S upgrade, I think that the demand for these phones are going to be quite high, and I think the one that's going to be the most difficult to obtain is probably going to be the one that's also the most expensive, and that is the 512GB iPhone 11 Pro Max in the green, because that's a new color and everybody loves the new color. You remember how popular rose gold was when it first came out, and I think honestly that's going to be the most difficult iPhone to get on release day. So you're going to need to have your wits about you, have a plan so that you can pick up the phone if you really want it there. Now, having said that, if you really wanted this particular phone and you were willing to pay outright rather than go on a plan, you probably should have pre-ordered from the Apple store when it first was announced on the 13th. But having missed that boat, what are some of the strategies that you can use if you really wanted to have that phone on release day? From my past experience here in Australia, what tends to happen is there's a big rush on the iPhone when it first comes out, and actually the release day is probably the easiest day to pick up this phone for the first maybe 2 to 3 weeks, because as the initial supply dwindles and sells out, it's really unpredictable as to when Apple gets new phones, and you end up spending a lot of time chasing tails, looking at the Apple reservations website and wasting a lot of time having to get up early a lot to see when the phones are available. So if you really want it as a bleeding edge kind of thing, getting it within the first week or two, the first day is your best bet. And in reality, the Apple Store is probably the only place that you're going to be able to pick up the iPhone 11 on release day. You could try going to some of the retailers like JB Hi-Fi, Harvey Norman, Officeworks and stuff like that. But historically, these shops have had very short supplies initially, usually even no more than maybe 2 phones per model. And given the inequality of supply versus demand, there's a very low likelihood that you're going to be able to get one of these phones from one of these stores. The other thing is going to a telco. If you are planning to go on a plan, going to one of the telecommunication providers without having pre-ordered, you're probably going to be out of luck as well, because having a look at the major telco websites, these phones are all now back ordered, so I doubt there's going to be anything for walk-ins on the day of release. Speaking of walk-ins, in the past as well, with the Apple stores, walk-ins will not be able to purchase the iPhone 11 on the day of release. What used to happen, and I'm assuming the same thing's going to happen this time, is Apple will set up an online reservation system. Now, how does this work? Well, in Australia at least, what usually happens is that on the day of release and every day after that, the Apple reservation system comes online, usually at about 6 o'clock in the morning, and this is Eastern Standard Time, so that's like Sydney time. And basically what happens is everybody hits the Apple Store website using either the web browser or the Apple Store app on the iPhone or iPad, and then it's like a mad frenzy trying to reserve the phone. Are there any techniques to be able to get a reservation early? Because usually, especially in the first couple of weeks, there's only a very narrow window of opportunity. So basically you've got to have everything set up, you've got to have all your ducks in a row before you have any chance of getting the phone on the first day. For example, if the reservation system opens at 6 o'clock and you log in at 6:02, the chances are all the phones will be gone. In fact, by 6:00 and 15 seconds, it's likely all the phones will be gone. So you have to know what you're doing. You have to be quick. And one of the major things you need to do is you've got to make sure that you've logged in to your Apple account prior to 6 o'clock. What I would do if I was getting this iPhone, which I'm not, as you can see from my previous video, is that what I would do is I would set the alarm for say 5:50 if in fact the phone is going to be up for a reservation at 6, and I would start the computer, start the app or whatever, make sure that I've logged into the account, and make sure you've decided exactly what phone you're going to want, and that includes the model, the color, the storage. You don't have time to to hesitate and think about, oh, maybe I'll get the gold, maybe I'll get the silver, because you're going to miss out on both. At 5:59 or whatever time it is, I would start refreshing the browser page or refreshing the app or whatever, and just keep doing that until the 6 o'clock window comes. And as I said, you're going to have a very, very brief window of opportunity. And as soon as the page changes from the "I'm sorry, the iPhones are currently unavailable for reservation at this time," when it changes, when that page changes to allow you to select the phone, do it quickly, do not hesitate, do not think twice, and get all the way through to the end. Now, with the Apple Store reservation system, at least in the past, it's not like buying a concert ticket from Ticketek. What happens there is once you've chosen your seat, it gives you like a 10 or 15 minute window of opportunity where no one else can take those seats. That is not the case with the iPhone. You actually have to get all the way through to the end and pass the confirmation before the iPhone is truly reserved for you. So as I said, you need to be quick. You need to bang, 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 get all the options done, get to the end, click confirm, and you're only going to be smiling when you get that confirmation email from Apple saying that your phone is reserved. Again, from previous years, when you try to reserve your iPhone, you need to reserve it for a particular Apple store, which means that if you reserve it for, say, Chatswood, you cannot go pick it up at Castle Tower. You will also be asked to select a window of time on the day to pick up the phone. I've never gone outside of this window, so I don't know whether it voids your reservation if, say, your reservation's at 1 o'clock and you show up at 3, but I wouldn't risk it if you were that desperate to get the phone. The other thing is you can only make a reservation on the same day, so you cannot book your reservation for like next Saturday. If you're working, you can't go. There's no point trying to reserve the phone on that day. The other thing is you will not be allowed to get somebody else to go there and pick up your phone. And in the past, there have also been a separate reservation kind of list for those who want to buy the phone outright and those who want to contract. So you want to check that out at the options when you are scrolling through the checkout, just to make sure that you've picked the right option, because they may have separate allocations for telcos on a plan compared to buying the phone outright. Whilst these tips are probably only going to be specifically applicable for Australia, some of these might be useful in other parts of the world. But basically, the bottom line is you need to be fast and you need to not hesitate. You need to know exactly what model you're going to get, and you need to know exactly what time the reservation system is open. Can you get reservations outside of the immediate reservation time? Occasionally, it's been believed that Apple stores sometimes release new iPhones during the course of the day. That is usually, from what I can gather, people who don't turn up to pick up their phones. So they usually don't get a new supply of stock during the day. There have been people who have written scripts on web pages which allows you to check the availability of every single model of every iPhone using their script, and you can keep refreshing that to see. But the chance of you getting an iPhone on that day, if you miss out on the reservation in the morning, is very, very low. As I said, the 512GB iPhone 11 Pro Max in the green is likely to be the most popular phone this release. So if that's the one you're going to want to get, you're going to want to try and get it on the first day if you're desperate. In my experience, once you get past the first or second day, the reservation system tends to not yield any fruitful results. So basically you can get up every morning at 5:50, check, and you'll never get anything. And it can be up to a week or two before it becomes a little bit more widely available. But again, this all depends on supply and demand. It depends on how many iPhones Apple have shipped. It depends on how many people want to buy it. In the past, it's all been a hype thing. So basically, there's been all these stories of people queuing up outside Apple stores for 5 days, sleeping overnight. Even celebrities were doing it just to bring notoriety or bring attention to the new iPhone. But with the reservation system, that doesn't happen anymore, except for the truly diehard fanboys and fangirls who just like to go there for the sake of just being there, I guess. Through the years, Apple's made this reservation system more and more streamlined and more efficient, but that's playing to the strengths of those people who are prepared to do some research, get up early and get it done first. Now, most of you are probably not so desperate to get this iPhone that you're going to want to go through all these extremes of getting up so early and going on the reservation system, which is fine, because as I said, with my wife, we're going to be picking up one of these iPhones for her, but her contract doesn't finish for another 6 weeks, and hopefully by then the hype's died down and it's going to be a basically walk in, get the phone, no trouble situation. But if you really want it early, this could be because you just really love iPhones and you want to get it. Perhaps you need it for a specific reason. Maybe you're going to travel and you want to bring this phone with you and there is a time restraint. This is the way I would do it. And whilst it's entirely possible that Apple may change its reservation system, I think that's highly unlikely, and I think everything's going to go pretty much the same as it did last year. When I got my iPhone XS Max, I didn't have much of an issue. As I said, I don't think the demand for that phone was as high as I think it's going to be for this new iPhone. So let's see what happens. Now, if you guys are planning on getting up at 5:50 in the morning or whatever time the reservation system's going to open, please leave me a comment below and let me know how you go. Let me know if there's any additional tips or hints that you may have, and just your experience of picking up your new iPhone 11 on release day. And as usual, please subscribe. Hope you like these videos. I really hope that you're finding these videos informative. I know that they're just my pure opinion and it may not be relevant to your situation. So if you like it, please give me a thumbs up. Otherwise, I'll catch you next time. Have fun with your iPhone and see you soon. And for those of you who are still here watching this video, let me just say, relax. iPhones are not the end of the world. If you don't get the iPhone 11, it's no big deal. If you don't manage to pick it up on release day, you can always wait. Life is more of a let's go and enjoy life rather than spending every morning frantically clicking the refresh button on your browser getting this phone. I mean, look at this. Look at the beautiful flowers in the garden on this 28-degree spring day here in Sydney. So enjoy yourself. See ya.